All right, so this is my third and final self-driving video of the day. I can get started. It is December 31st, 2025, so last day of the year. And I thought it was a good day to show off full self-driving in 3 different vehicles. We started with the 2024 Model Y, that is hardware version 4. This one is a 2018 Model 3 that has hardware version 3. So we'll see if there's any differences. Interestingly, like the second vehicle we did was the 2017 Model X. So that's the oldest of all of these vehicles, and that one had no issues, where the Model Y ran into a few issues with the sun blinding us, which I think would have happened to any of these cars. But this one, we're getting the kind of the end of the day light. It's almost, sun is getting longer every day, but 4:21 is actually just as we get to the supercharger is going to be the official sunset. So on the way back, it's probably going to be a little bit darker. So nice to kind of see this, basically driving the same route, more or less. We might navigate a few slightly different routes depending on traffic, or there was a weird quirk with the last one where it decided to just turn and take a side street. But yeah, anyway, we'll see how it goes. Overall, I've been pretty impressed with full self-driving, and this is my kind of primary vehicle, so this is the one I'm most used to. So I expect it to do just as well as the other two just did, because I've been using it a lot frequently, and I've been using it for years, right? We had this car for 7 years now, and I got it with the full self-driving package, which at the time was, a little bit deceptive. I think now it finally actually lives up to that name. I'm expecting not to have to really do any interventions this whole trip. It does do some weird things sometimes, like why is it putting my right blinker on now? Like, we're not turning there, we're turning up here. So it's still, a little bit quirky, but generally I found it to be really safe and to be pretty intelligent. A lot more natural, a lot more human, I would say, than especially in the early days. And to get this initial software, I had to actually pass a test. I had to be driving the car around and not accelerate too fast, not brake too fast, stop at every stoplight. And so they had a whole scoring system that allowed you to even get into the beta program. But the funny thing was, at the time, once you pass all these tests, the car itself is way off. It would brake badly, or it would do all these things that it was asking me as a human to prove that I could do. And I guess at the time, that's why they wanted, or one of the reasons they were trying to roll this out gradually, is that they knew the software still had those issues, and they wanted to make sure that the human driver would be paying enough attention or able to kind of drive well. Anyway, fast forward now into 2025, and it really feels like self-driving is here, from a technology standpoint. And this is just with a vision system, right? I mean, I do a lot of 3D scanning, and I'm familiar with LiDAR and point clouds and data that you might be able to get from other sensors. But I still, believe that this suite with the cameras can see all around the car. It's more aware than a human driver would be. There's certain things that, it may not see as well or perceive as well as a human, maybe in certain, weather conditions. But generally speaking, I've found that the car, especially when it has these visuals here, identifies things that I might not be paying attention to, like pedestrians on the side of the road, someone walking their dog, you'd see it on here, you might not notice it normally. So I think the vision system on here is actually very sophisticated, and where the software had struggled for a while, right, the last few years has been improving, hasn't been so much on understanding the environment, but more understanding how to operate in that environment, right? Should it slow down? Should it speed up? Should it go the speed limit? Should it go a little faster? Should it, try to turn in front of someone? Should it yield? Now we can see that we've got, my music, because I can't do that on YouTube. Alright, so look at that. I was looking too much at the screen, and it was reminding me to pay attention to the road. So this is the attention monitoring camera up top. And I find, that with the cars just in the Model X, doesn't have that camera and you have to kind of touch the steering wheel a lot. I've gotten used to this camera from a, I guess, privacy standpoint. I guess I've given up my privacy for convenience, but I don't even have to touch the wheel now. It knows if I look away too long, or if I'm getting sleepy or closing my eyes or doing something to not pay attention, and it'll warn me. So I appreciate that. I feel like with the active like turning of the steering wheel in the Model X, it's not necessarily paying attention to my attention, and it's a mechanism that is kind of more of a nag than anything. So I would say that I do appreciate the camera monitor, attention monitoring, either when I'm driving, or when my wife's driving or someone else is driving. It's nice to know that whoever's operating the vehicle is still being monitored and being forced to pay attention and not just taking a nap. So from that standpoint, I feel like Tesla's done a good job of addressing that kind of common challenge of like how much privacy and monitoring do you need, as well as how much attention do you need to be paying attention to the road. They've done a better job of not nagging you all the time. Before, I used to have to often stop and wiggle the wheel or do something. Now I feel that it knows, as long as I'm looking up and looking out, that I'm paying attention, and it's not gonna make me do anything, and it'll do its own self-driving. We're already almost to the supercharger. So far so good. So it just acts a lot more naturally. It doesn't like hesitate in turns. It'll yield to folks for the right of way, but it can also be aggressive enough that it's not just kind of stuck in an intersection being too cautious. There are different modes. I was mentioning in one of my earlier videos that I usually keep it on standard, but there are a few different modes. And like here, so we lost our left arrow. We still have the right to turn, but it's going to wait until it's safe to do so. But there are some modes where you can put it in the terminology I just saw. It said hurry. I wonder if it's the same on this software. So we go to autopilot. Yeah, hurry. They used to call it Mad Max, and then they called it aggressive. Now it's just hurry. I'm just in standard right now. But yeah, if you're trying to get somewhere and you want the car to be a little more assertive, hurry mode will get you there faster. It'll switch lanes more aggressively on the highway. Whereas chill mode will just like let everybody go. And I previously had the other vehicle, the Model X, in chill mode, and it was letting a lot of people go. And that's when I realized or remembered that I had that one in chill mode. So it's nice option to have. And look, we're getting the supercharger. I noticed with the Model Y that it actually backed in and got me directly to the supercharger. I don't know where it's going right now. The supercharger's over there. Alright, I'm paying attention to the road. What about you? You should pay attention to the road. So yeah, I don't know where it's taking me. Okay, we're parked here now? That's weird. Supercharger's over there. Interesting. Well, alright, so not as smooth this time for at least parking at the supercharger. We'll see. I'll give it a chance to correct its error and actually back into the stall. But I was impressed. The Model Y, it did back into the stall, which was a little unexpected. It only recently started doing the final parking. I've noticed that at my house as well. It'll park in the garage now, whereas previously it would just kind of stop in the middle of the road because I'm in a cul-de-sac and I wouldn't know if it needed to turn around. It would just kind of stop there. But recently it parks itself in the garage, which is pretty cool. Although today it didn't go in the garage, it stopped in the driveway. But I'd still consider that a win. Alright, now we're getting a supercharger stall. My dream someday is, because I have unlimited supercharging on these cars, that I could just tell the car to go to the supercharger and go do it. Oh, it's being super slow. Alright, I'm gonna just take over. Sorry, because there's someone waiting for me. I think it would have eventually got there, but that was a little painful. I don't know what I was waiting for. Alright, so not 100%, but still pretty decent. And I probably parked worse than the car would have, but oh well. Alright, let's charge and then I'll resume. Alright, I'm done charging and it's gotten dark out, so we'll get to see a little night driving. Set autopilot to navigate to my house. And yeah, let's let it go. I think I may have to press the accelerator to start. Give it a second. Yeah, let me press the accelerator. Auto steer unavailable. All right, there we go. All right, so this is my last video sequence where we're just doing 3 full self-driving demos, basically the same path today, 3 different cars, roughly the same software. I do have to confirm exactly which software versions each of these were on, but it is December 31st, last day of 2025, and yeah, the state of full self-driving has been pretty good. It's been able to navigate around. The only issue we've seen so far was with the sun blinding the front camera. It asked me to take over. Otherwise, it's been driving pretty naturally. And this vehicle is the 2018 Model 3. This is really basically the first production run of the Model 3. I had pre-ordered it a while in advance. We ended up getting a Model X a year before just because the delay was so long for the Model 3s. But this was really the vehicle I was waiting for. So it was one of the first ones, September 2018. And I bought it with full self-driving. Let's see if it goes. Yeah, there we go. Get a little beeping there because the car's hesitating. I would have just drove through that light, but that's okay. Yeah, anyway, so it's been a long time in coming. I've promised the promises of self-driving as one of the things that drew me to the Tesla brand. That and just kind of the technology and, you know, the electric vehicle. There are a lot of things about the brand and the mission, especially in the early days, that kind of spoke to me. And so normally, you know, my previous vehicle was like a Hyundai Elantra. I'm not really a big car guy, but Tesla, you know, was doing something really, I thought, important and interesting. And, you know, I had a good high-paying job. When I was at Wayfair, stock price had gone up a lot, so I thought, you know what, this is kind of a splurge to spend so much money on a vehicle. But it was something that I was excited to do, and, you know, happy to kind of invest as an early adopter. If you watch my channel, you see I'm an early adopter for a lot of technology, especially things in the like AR, VR space. And this vehicle, especially, you know, 7-8 years ago, was really at the peak of the technology that, you know, some things we kind of take for granted in today's vehicles now, you know, larger screens, a lot of the software control, the mobile app, and the self-driving, of course, which is what we're kind of showing off today. The self-driving's come a long way, and one of the nice things about, you know, owning these vehicles is that it continues to improve as like a software update. And they do have a paid service if you don't want to invest in the full self-driving upfront cost, which today is $8,000. So that's pretty steep. I was mentioning earlier that if I were to, you know, consider should I make that investment for the our red Model Y, which doesn't have full self-driving on it, we were able to transfer our free supercharging, but we didn't have the opportunity to get a full self-driving transfer as we upgraded the vehicle. And the cost of it, if we were to get it, is $8,000 as of today, at least last I checked. Or you could do like a subscription. I believe it's something like $100 or maybe $200 a month. Personally, like where we're at right now, I don't think we need full self-driving. I like having it in my car. I'll often turn it on. But even without it in our Model Y, we still have the highway navigation. That's become a standard feature. Whereas initially, when I first bought self-driving, I think it was $3,000 for those features, like the lane changing and highway navigation. And then if you wanted full self-driving, it was $5,000. I made that investment early on because I, again, was excited about the technology. I wanted to be part of that, you know, process, the beta testing, etc. So I've been on this kind of full self-driving journey for a while, and I've made a few of these videos that I never ended up editing and publishing. But they all had, you know, some flaws and some issues, and it was a couple interventions, typically for a video like this if I was doing a 20-minute run. Whereas now I don't really need to do any interventions, and although I actually did do one for the sunlight, it's become a lot more infrequent, and it feels like the technology has gotten to the point where I'm confident in the car's ability to navigate around. The regulations still aren't quite there as far as being able to legally drive or sleep or have like full autonomy. It's not there yet. It's still like supervised. And Tesla has changed their messaging around this, right? They'll often put that it's full self-driving supervised and no longer just call it autopilot or full self-driving without any other caveats. I don't know if it'll, with this hardware, get to the point where I wouldn't need to be in the driver's seat, or there wouldn't need to be a person driving the car. It seems like with their new focus on robo-taxi, that might be a new line of hardware and vehicles and class of software. One of the things that was interesting about the autopilot agreement is that it doesn't include the ability to use a service like Uber, like some type of ride-sharing service, in autonomous mode. So like Tesla's talked about the robotaxi program for a long time, and so they essentially want you to exclusively use that if you're going to use your vehicle for that type of taxi service when you're not in it. And so that's kind of an interesting concept. It's nice to not have to drive the vehicle yourself and still make some money, as if you were, Ubering, but then you're still adding wear and tear to the vehicle. You're still having, strangers in and out of the car. You're still potentially, at risk for accidents or just whatever could happen out in the world. So it's an interesting concept. I just don't think it's something that we're going to personally do in our family. And the most valuable for super driving, as I mentioned earlier, would be for my son when he's old enough to drive. He's not able to fully, he can see, he has albinism, but he is legally blind. So he wouldn't be able to today get a driver's license without some type of assistive technology. And my hope that by the time, in 3 or 4 years, when he's old enough to drive and looking to have that freedom, that these vehicles, ideally the same ones we have today, will still be able to will drive better than they can today, but the laws will change so that he could utilize those vehicles to get around. But yeah, it's been a good journey. Honestly, I'm impressed, and it's something I've been waiting for a long time, that the car would fully do everything. And even now, it's still kind of hesitating. It maybe doesn't know there's a stop sign. I'm putting some gas there, so it's not going to wait forever for that car. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely gotten a lot better, and it's gotten to the point where I feel very comfortable letting it drive around town. I still am vigilant to watch, but not in the same way that I needed to be in the early versions of the software. For example, right near my house, there's technically not a stop sign, but it's kind of a smaller street entering a larger street, and I think clear to any human driver that you would need to yield to traffic coming on the main road. Whereas the first few versions of autopilot, the car would just drive straight through it, and I had to be very attentive that there weren't any vehicles nearby. But that's kind of changed a lot. I think we've gotten to a point now where I do feel like I'm being driven around by another human, by an Uber driver, by my wife, by someone that's not me. I happen to be sitting in the driver's seat, but I don't feel like I'm driving anymore. And that's good and bad. I think, for my kids' generation, they'll probably be the last ones that learn to drive, which is kind of weird. And I don't know, it's good and bad, right? From an accident perspective, I think we'll see a lot of the fatalities and car crashes that are human errors or, drunk driving or, things that could be prevented. I think the automation systems, and maybe not there yet, but they're gonna be better than human drivers. So I suspect that within maybe 10 years, but certainly 20 years, by the time my grandchildren are looking to drive, I don't believe we'll still be able to have the right to just drive on public roads anymore. I think you'll have to take your car even if your car even has a steering wheel at that point, but I think you'll have to go to like a closed circuit racetrack to even have the ability to drive. So it's a weird time, you know. I think people are generally not enjoying driving, right? It's kind of a burden, especially if you're commuting and you're in traffic a lot. But I think it's going to be something that we'll miss as this technology starts to become more capable than us, and that the laws are going to change from not allowing the cars to drive autonomously to not allowing humans to drive. So it's going to be interesting.